It is once again time for another series of trips to the small town of Oakland, Nebraska, and the BNSF trains which pass through it. My first visit to this town was a little bit more brief. I only caught 2 trains on this day, but the first one was a quick little look at a local. And yes, that sprinting after the trains is going to become a recurring theme. Sorry about that. But some of the more interesting catches, such as the rolling stock on this local, will still be in frame, so don't worry about that. After this local passed, only about a minute later, a southbound manifest came, which we got to see a good look at.
Yeah, you want to get out of here, buddy. There's something coming.
Like I said, this was all the trains that we caught on this day, pretty brief, but the next day we were going to catch even more trains because we didn't even make it out of Lincoln before we were stopped by an eastbound BNSF manifest on the St. Joe subdivision, and at first it seemed like your average freight train until we saw these. Apparently, these are some kind of concrete load bound for Kansas City, and this train originated all the way up in Pasco, Washington. Though, once they arrive in Kansas City, I really don't know who or where these concrete shipments are headed to, though it's probably some kind of construction project. Either way, very interesting, and if anyone has any more information on it, please let me know. Anyway, besides these interesting loads, this manifest also had some Missouri Pacific gondolas and BNSF 7661, a Heritage 2 GEVO, pushing its train onward. As we drove over the crossing, we could also see a stopped BNSF train waiting its turn after this manifest passed. Also in Lincoln, we crossed over the Hobson Yard, and I got to look at some of BNSF's shiny new Tier 4s on a coal train, and on the other side of the yard was a Kansas City Southern GEVO on the back of some coal empties. Arriving in Oakland, we saw a parked grain train stopped just outside of town, though the first train that I would actually see in Oakland on this day would be a BNSF manifest with even more Tier 4s, which means even more marathon sprinting. Sorry in advance for that.
Woo! Thank God.
Yes, I know, silly me left the camera in the wrong position. Don't worry, we didn't miss too much, as the two lead units on this train were just some Heritage 3 Gevos, nothing too fancy. As you could tell from the frantic sprinting, practically all of these trains caught me by surprise. But this northbound train of ballast hoppers was going so fast, I didn't even have time to get out the door. Even though the Sioux City subdivision is far from the busiest line, trains can still get some pretty good speed on here, as the DPUs on these ballast hoppers came into view less than a minute after the head end. This ended up being the last train that we would see in Oakland, though while passing through Fremont we did see two stopped manifests, one of which was the Tier 4 lead southbound that we saw earlier. And the trip would finally be capped off with a look at a freshly delivered UP grain train at an AGP elevator in Lincoln.